Every year, I tell my clients and I tell family and friends who own a home that they should always protest their property taxes because they're always going to continue to go up. And so you want to make sure that you fight for what you own and fight for the right of having and reducing property taxes when a lot of times the market doesn't match up. So today we're going to discuss three strategies to protesting your property taxes in North Texas. First disclaimer I want to kind of go over is I am a licensed real estate agent, licensed realtor here in North Texas, but I am not a licensed appraiser, nor am I a tax assessor. So that is the first disclaimer here that I just want to repeat one more time. I am not a licensed appraiser, nor am I a tax assessor. I'm just going to share the strategies that I personally do when it comes to protesting our property taxes. So today the agenda is really going to be three things, right? The overview of property tax assessments. We're going to discuss the three strategies to protest your property taxes in North Texas, and then the next steps if you do decide to protest your property taxes, what you have to do. So, the tax code requires that unless otherwise provided, that all taxable property be appraised as its market value as of January 1st of that tax year. So, in other words, if there's any homes that are for sale in your neighborhood or that recently sold this year, those do not apply because they had been done prior to January 1st. So, what is market value? As an agent, when I'm discussing with home buyers and home sellers, what is the true market value? In all honesty, it really is whatever a buyer is willing to pay for the home that they're purchasing. That's technically when you're buying and selling a home. The price at which a property would transfer for cash or its equivalent under prevailing market conditions. Exposed for sale in the open market with a reasonable time for the seller to find a purchaser. Both the seller and the purchaser know of all the uses and purposes to which the property is adapted and for which it is capable of being used, and of the enforceable restrictions on its use. And C, both the seller and purchaser seek to maximize their gains, and neither is in a position to take advantage of the necessities of the other. But like I mentioned, true market value is what a buyer is willing to pay for a home. So, important note number one, the appraisal district does not charge a fee to protest your property taxes. I repeat, the appraiser district is not going to charge you a fee to protest your property taxes. So a lot of times, if you just purchase your property, you'll get a lot of spam mail saying, hey, we can help you file your homestead for 70, $50, right? That's a scam. You do not need to pay for that as well when it comes to protesting your property taxes. If you get a lot of papers in the work, there are companies out there that do provide a service where they say they'll protest on your behalf and you don't have to pay them unless they do get it reduced, and then it's a percentage going to them. But at the end of the day, if you do it yourself, there's no fee for it. And what I'm going to teach you today are sometimes what these other companies are going to charge to do. And the reason I know this is because I practice what I preach. And so one year I did hire some companies out there, different ones because I own different properties, to see what they did. And at the end of the day, the end result was they weren't able to get it reduced. And I have no idea what and if they did. So I just decided to continue to do it the way I do it and what I'm going to teach you today, and just do it every single year. It is worth your time, everybody. Remember, this is worth your time. So, an important notice number two, the verification letter sent from appraisal district after the purchase of a home. The appraisal district will mail you a letter after you purchase your home to confirm the price that you paid. So, once again, whenever you purchased your home, they'll send you this letter and say, hey, what did you pay for it? Do not reply. Do not tell them how much you bought your home for. Texas is a non disclosure state, so the sales price are not public record. And if you did tell them, unfortunately, they got you, right? They want to know what you paid for it, so then that way they can start raising your property taxes. What you'll see is a lot of times your appraisal amount is lower than what true market value is if you're selling your home today. And that's because as realtors, we do a lot more due diligence with knowing what they do. Now, one thing that I did learn in the past, after I did talk to some appraisal districts out there, is they do have access to our MLS, just like a realtor do, to see what homes actually sold for. But they don't have somebody sitting behind the computer checking all these millions of homes that are selling every single year to see what people paid for it. But when it comes to protesting, sometimes they can pull up that data. So then that way, you got to really do your due diligence when it comes to protesting your property taxes. Different values and exemptions. So if you have one or more exemption, then your taxable value is less than the proposed appraised value. Exemptions reduce the value that you are paying taxes on by lowering your taxable value. So this is a screenshot of a home in Anna. And so this is just for purposes of this video. You'll see here where the red check marks are, it says total market value. That's what the appraisal district is proposing, that their opinion, your home is worth this much. But then that you see the appraised value, possible homestead limitations and stuff like that. So this taxable value, which is where this green arrow is at the top, that is what you're paying taxes on. Okay. But at the end of the day, you still want to try to reduce the value to reduce it all, right? So you just got to remember, now there is a new law where you should have received a letter in the mail from the appraisal district in your county that homestead exemptions would now need to be filed, or any exemption would now need to be filed more frequent and often. So you need to be sure you're always checking every single year that your exemptions didn't fall off, because if they did, then they can actually start taxing you on what their true market value, what in their opinion is their market value. So I always tell my clients now when we receive that letter to just set a calendar reminder, right? Whenever that you get your tax notice in the mail in October for your property taxes, make it a point to go online and check or call or go to the appraisal district to ensure that your homestead and all your other exemptions are there. A few more tips. Check for your exemptions you may be eligible for, including, right, your general resident homestead. Is this the property that you live in? Disabled person or a person age 65 or older, or surviving spouse. 100% disabled veteran or surviving spouse. Surviving spouse of armed services member killed in action. Surviving spouse of a first responder killed in the line of duty. And donated residence of partially disabled veteran or surviving spouse. So these are just a few of the exemptions that you need to ensure that are on there. And if you qualify for it, or if you have questions about them, you can always reach out to me as well, to kind of help you decide whether you qualify for one or not. Sometimes the appraisal district has inaccurate information. So one of the common things that we see is the square footage of the home, because they're going based off of historic information, things like that, and they don't actually go to your house to measure it. And so a lot of times that square footage could be less or could be more. So if you just purchased your home, or when you purchased it, if you have the builder plan or the appraisal from the lender from when you had to take out a mortgage on it, or if you refinance and had to get another appraisal done, you can use those documents to really find the livable square footage and compare it to what they have online or what they say. So I always tell clients, obviously, if let's say the appraisal district is showing that you have a 3,000 square foot home, but when you either measured it yourself, or you hired a licensed appraiser to go give you a square footage appraisal, meaning you're only hiring that appraiser to go measure the house for you, or like I said, if you still have the appraisal from your lender when you purchased the home, check out on one of those pages. You'll see a drawn out, pretty much floor plan of the exterior and things like that, where it will tell you what the livable square footage is. So if it's less, you can use those documents as evidence to protest and say, hey, my home isn't 3,000 like you're showing, it's only 2,700 square feet. Now if let's say it shows on the appraisal district that it's 3,000, and your appraisal or your builder plan or things like that show 3,500, then shut up about it. Sorry to be blunt, but don't say anything about that, because then you're going to start getting taxed more on the livable square footage. So just hush about that and go on your merry way about some other strategy to use to protest. Okay. Livable means air conditioned, so it does not include your garage, porch, or patio, or anything to that matter. So to look up your home or other homes on the appraisal district, if you live in Collin County, obviously you can go to collincad.org, click on property search, specific address, your address. You can type in your name or the address. If you're looking for wanting to do in one of our strategies, we'll go over, we'll talk about searching the entire neighborhood or things like that. Well, that's where you'll go click on advanced search and just type in the city and just the street name, not the number. And you'll see all your neighbors and things like that. So there are several ways to search in the advanced search. Every district is almost similar, but obviously I can give you a list depending on where your home is located at. If you need the actual website, I can help you direct that information down that road. So strategy number one is using market values of similar homes. So what you want to do is you want to find homes similar to yours with lower market values per the appraisal district website. This is where that search feature comes in handy, right? You'll have to really go do your due diligence, spend some time, and just say within your neighborhood, right? Maybe the first 80, 100 homes, go in there and click one by one, find the ones with similar square footage. If you have a pool, find the ones with a pool, because it'll be listed on there, and see if their value is lower than yours. And if so, you want to print to save, right? Print it as a PDF and use that as part of the evidence when you're protesting and uploading it into the portal and or mailing it in. And you want to see which homes are lower value and why. Right. So that can be one strategy that you're using and saying, hey, all my neighbors with similar square footage, with a pool or without, or whatever, same corner lots, all their homes are lower than mine. And you want to ask why. So you want to submit that information to them. And so that's strategy number one that we want to talk is, yes, it takes time, but it's worth it. Remember, like I said, if you have questions, always reach out to me. Like I said, I can jump on a Zoom call and share a screen with you and show you how it works and what to do. But it is time consuming. So you will need to set some time apart for when you're going down your list of all the neighbors around you. Strategy number two is home needs major repairs. Major repairs. Okay. A lot of times, what I tell my clients or people who come to me about protesting their taxes is this strategy is think about the structural things of the home, major repairs, right? So even when you're buying and you're going through home inspection, I tell my clients, we always want to focus on the major components of a home, right? Your roof, your foundation, your plumbing, your HVAC, your electrical, because those are your big money ticket items. So you kind of wanted to do the same here. If you notice that you are starting to have foundation issues or movement or settlement, call a company up and get a quote, right? If you see the roof has been damaged, or with all these crazy storms in North Texas, the damage is beat up, or you just got it done, get a quote from the roofer. The roofers do free inspections out there. And if you need some recommendations locally, we can give you some. But they can give you a free inspection with pictures and give you a quote on what it costs to replace that roof. And so, extremely outdated HVAC systems, things like that, call your local vendors out there, contractors, and get some quotes. Now, they have to be more recent quotes, because if it's from 2-3 years ago, it's not going to do. And so just make sure you get those quotes along with pictures to submit as evidence. Now, a lot of people think, well, guess what? My home isn't as fixed up on the interior as the home that's sold next door that shows to be less value or things like that. At the end of the day, you just want to gather as much evidence. So if you know that your neighbor next door renovated their home and their property taxes are still lower, things like that, take pictures of the inside. And it's not going to hurt for you to upload those pictures if you found them online, or and along with yours, and compare the two and say, hey, look at this home that was in our neighborhood that's priced lower. Look, they just sold their house, and look at the inside of their home. And my home is either the same as evaluation or not. And then upload your pictures and say, this is what my home looks like. Right. And so then that way they can determine, like, oh, okay, guess what? We need to kind of lower your taxes or whatnot. And just remember, guys, none of this is guaranteed, but these are great strategies to use to help you in the long term, right? To continue to protest your taxes every single year. And yes, I've had a number of people who always ask me, do I do the same thing every year? Yes, of course. Protest your property taxes every single year, right? So back to the repairs. So examples of like painting or maybe some worn out carpet or your garbage disposal is broke, they're probably not going to really take that into consideration because those are just minor repairs, right? But if it's a full blown type of update that it needs, like I mentioned, major structural, one thing is electric panels, right? Sometimes there are homes that have been built you know older homes that have a certain type of electrical panel that are known to be caught on fire and things like that. You maybe want to do the research of that, and obviously thank God and everything, nothing has happened, but get a quote from an electrician to replace that panel because that's something major, and you can show them all the articles out there that says, hey, these electric panels are not good, and then maybe they'll take that into consideration, right? So once again, any repairs, you want to get photos of the repairs and recent quotes from licensed contractors or licensed professionals in those industries. And if you need recommendations, we have a bunch that we can do, whether it's roof, foundation, plumbing, HVAC, electrical. Reach out. We're very well plugged in with a lot of great companies out there who will not take advantage of you and just tell you the honest truth if it does need to be repaired or replaced or if it doesn't. So reach out anytime. And then we're going to talk about the third strategy, using sales data of similar homes, right? You want to prove that homes like yours have sold recently for less than your home's market value. And the time of sale is what I mentioned. It has to be done as of January 1st. They are looking at the sales during the previous year. So this is where a realtor like myself will come in handy for us to run some comparables of similar homes. Now, we all know that here in the COVID years, home prices took a crazy jump in North Texas, and home prices have continued to go up, just not as much. So they've been continually gradually going up year over year. And so sometimes this strategy may not work because a lot of, as a homeowner, you've been there 10 years, and yes, you haven't really considered selling your home, so you haven't kept up with what the actual true market value is doing that of homes that have sold. And so a lot of times we'll do our best as agents to try and find some comparables for you to use, but sometimes we can't find any because it may hurt. You may not know, but guess what? Your home is probably worth 400, even though in your eyes it doesn't because you've been there 10, 15 years. But yet everybody who's moving into the neighborhood has been paying that type of money. So sometimes this strategy can and cannot work. But like I've told everybody, use all three strategies. You don't have to just pick one. The more evidence you can send to the appraisal districts out there, the better you are to have a chance of getting them to reduce your property taxes, right? So they're not using the home price of homes that for currently sell. Like I said, it has to be from the previous year. They look at, same neighborhood, age of home, size of home, feature, and updates. This is where we can give you a full-blown comparative market analysis with pictures of those homes that have sold, things like that. So you can say, hey, guess what? We found one or two of, look at these beautiful updated homes. And yes, they sold less than what my home is valued on the appraisal district. And here's what they look like, and here's what my home looks like. And so you can use that as evidence to upload. All right. Strategy 3 continued. Obviously, documentation is needed. So sample homes of similar to yours. This is like I mentioned, just reach out. We can put this kind of stuff together for you and kind of show you where the differences would be adjusted. But you may be surprised at what your home is valued at on the market. And so maybe you have had talks of maybe selling your home. This will also help you to decide whether or not to do so. So just reach out to us. We're happy to put some stuff together for you. So then that way you can decide on what you want to do. All right, bonus strategy. If you purchased your home last year, right? If you purchased it last year, you can use the sales price of what you paid for to help you lower those property taxes. So for instance, if your home on the appraisal district shows that it's 400,000, but yet you paid 350 for it, you want to finally upload that seller's disclosure, I mean, not the seller's disclosure, the closing disclosure with what you paid for it. And you can black out some of all the information or the fees and stuff like that. They just need to see what you paid for it, and tell them like, hey, I know it's 400, but I just bought this home 6 months ago last year, and guess what? I only paid 350. So, maybe they can take that in consideration to lower the appraisal for property taxes. And so you don't want to do this every year, like I mentioned, when they send you the letter that you just bought the home and then they ask for you to tell them what you paid for. You only want to do this if your property tax value is higher than what you actually paid for it that previous year. Okay. So next steps, right? You need to decide if you want to protest your taxes. Like I mentioned, my honest opinion is that you should always do it every single year. Take the time to do so. Now, they also do have a deadline, which I will discuss here in a little bit, but you want to determine which strategy or strategies could work. Like I mentioned, you don't have to just pick one. You can pick all of them if they all are maybe will work. And this is what I did on one of our properties this year, that we're able to get it reduced $28,000 because we used all of them. We used the um, ones from the appraisal district value of all the neighbors. We used one because our rental property needed some updates and things like that, and we got some quotes. And we also did a comparative market analysis to upload. And so, we're blessed to have all that evidence and send to them, and they took it into consideration and actually lowered the property taxes. Much I mentioned again, it's not guaranteed. It is not guaranteed that they will lower it, but why not do it? The worst thing they can say is no, and the best thing they can say is yes, we'll get it lowered, so you win. So gather all that information, file your protest either online or with paper. I don't know about you, but obviously things get lost in the mail, so it's best to either maybe go drop it off in person or do the e-file. And if you have questions, like I mentioned, I can jump on a Zoom and kind of walk you through everything. If you need comparables, let me know. Happy to put that together for you, and things like that. So important dates to remember, obviously April 15th in Collin County and most counties out there, some are different. They send you in the mail the notice for your property appraisal. April 16th is when their formal review process begins. April 30th is the deadline for filing all your applications. So now they have passed a new law where you don't have to wait for when you file your homestead exemption and things like that. If you purchase your home today, as soon as you get your ID or your driver license updated with the new home address, file those homestead exemptions and other exemptions you may qualify for right away. They used to make you wait until January 1st of the next year, but that is no longer true. So file it as soon as you get your updated license or ID. May 15th is the deadline to submit notice of protest, which is 30 days after they mailed it to you. There's a reason they have a deadline. So you got to make sure you jump on all this, right? Get these contractors out there to give you quotes. Reach out to myself to get you some comparables or an agent on our team. You want to make sure you do not wait to the last minute. May 16th, appraisal review board hearings begin. July 20th is the last day that hearings can occur unless it's extended to October 30th. And then every October, you should receive in the mail your tax bill for the next year. So if you want to request some comparables to receive a summary of comps, photos, and details of homes that recently sold and instructions of how to do this, be sure to scan this QR code, send us your information. We're happy to put that together for you. Give us, about 24 to 48 hours, sometimes maybe 72, because we have been receiving a lot of requests, but we'll get that over to you as soon as possible so that way you can use that by the deadline. And things like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, to our team. I'm Matthew Soto with Let's Grow Realty Group here at Real in Wylie, Texas. I can help you anywhere in North Texas. And so our team is here to help and do this for you. So as I mentioned, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. Numbers 972-217-4948. You can find us on all social media platforms as well. And my email is matt, M-A-T-T, at letsgrowrealtygroup.com. We look forward to serving you and helping you with this helping you protest your property taxes. Or if you're looking to buy or sell a home, or anybody that you do know is looking to buy or sell a home, we'd be more than blessed and grateful to assist them or you. Have an amazing day.